Okay. Hopefully, we get this technical difficulty set up on the sound fixed. Hopefully,
All
somebody
right.
on there right now. Let me know if you can
Yeah, send
hear
us a little
both
message.
of us. Because it kept for some reason the setting on the microphone kept taking me off of it, and that was weird. Is it in it so it couldn't hear
It's
you?
all good. It's
Hey,
the
man,
magic of
it's what you get from me,
live
right? This
streaming.
is the problem with live when it's one person running the whole like technical show. I am not the person who should be doing that, but it's what it is. Um, so hey, what are you gonna do? All right, get that off. All right, so we got a couple
We
people with
good?
eyes on. I think we're good to go. There you go. So
All right. If
un
you're not hearing both of us, let us know.
Yeah, if you're not hearing both of us, let us know. We're gonna try start. Let's just go ahead and get into the show. We had a little fun little story from the earlier one, but that's not gonna happen at the moment. So it is what it is, you know.
Jump right back
Let's
into
jump right back into it. Yeah.
the false story of wealth that Trump pushed for so many years.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that. So one of the things. So if you delve into a little bit more of his history, and I'm not an expert on the history side, but I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of smoke and mirrors. And one of the things I was saying, um, whether they could hear me or not in the microphone setting, was that you got to whatever you could say a lot of things about him, and I actually don't. I mean, he's not that intelligent a person in a lot of aspects, but in some aspects, he may be considered the greatest like snake oil salesman slash grifter ever. I mean, he grifted his way to being president. I mean, that's pretty incredible. And
Ye-
hey, Teslas,
Yeah.
what's up? But um, so there's that, right? I mean, but he's never been a manager, and I think that's the thing people don't realize. Like when you see names like Trump names on buildings in Malaysia or in other places, he had absolutely nothing to do with building or putting any construction on those buildings. But what he did was he put his
No.
name on those buildings. They paid him to put his brand on because they thought,
Yep.
and this is pre-presidency, right? They thought, well, this brand is a great name for like buildings and quality and all that, even
Right.
though the guy, I mean, he couldn't
And
even.
what gets me is what the story of his brand is that it
Mhm.
was so classy.
That it
You
was so
know,
classy.
the Trump brand is classy. No, it's
Yeah,
not. It's trash.
no,
It's
no, it
pure
was
trash.
gaudy. You could say that. I mean, you could definitely
Yeah,
say it was very,
it's very gaudy.
very gaudy. Like you look how
Definitely.
classy, look how classy my gold escalator is. Like everyone else is like, dude, who wants a fucking gold escalator? Like, why do you
It's
need that?
pathetic.
And
It's pathetic.
yeah. So there was that part of it that I think, but he grifted his way into the White House, and a lot of us from the East Coast, like we all know, we were like, dude, we know this guy's a con man. This guy, why does everybody else think he's amazing? And
But it
he,
wasn't never. But that's just it. It was never. I will for the rest of my life say this. It was never, in my opinion, that he fooled all these people. It's that there's a percentage of people, the base, the
Mhm.
deplorable people that he fooled.
Right.
The rest of the Republicans with knowledge, he did not fool them. They knew that this man was a joke,
Hmm.
but they knew that he had this base of people. So they knew they had a guaranteed voting block pool,
Yeah.
and they just
Yeah.
went with it.
Yeah.
It's pathetic.
Well, and that they're going with it now, right? I mean, because so like I
Yes,
said,
they are.
we right now have somebody look. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. Right now that he absolutely lost this election. All right,
Oh
there's
yeah,
because there's no
he knows he
evidence.
lost it.
Because if he hadn't lost the election, he's in enough power that he could do something about it. But he has. The loudest person in the world has been very quiet. All right.
It's funny. Yeah, he's had nothing to say publicly, which is interesting. Though I do hear he wants to restart his rallies
I know,
as a
that's
way of
hilarious.
like getting people's interest again in it. I don't know. He's
Well,
lost. He's a little boy who is completely lost right now.
agreed. Agreed. I think the thing I you know what I keep thinking of? I don't know why. I do you ever remember there was a Richard Pryor movie called The Toy?
I love that movie with
Love that
Richard
movie.
Pryor and Jackie Gleason.
That's totally in our wheelhouse of our age, right? So like we grew up and we were like that boy's age at that time or whatever it was,
Yes, yes.
and it was his name was U.S. Bates or something like that, and then so they kept calling him
Yes.
Master Bates. Hey, Master
Master
Bates.
Bates. Yes,
But
I
I
remember.
remember,
I
and what was
remember.
the name of the kid? He was wasn't he the
Oh,
E.T.
I don't
kid?
remember the kid's
Wasn't he
name.
the E.T. kid? No, or wasn't he?
No, it wasn't ETK, but it was a kid who had a career
He had
as
a
a
bit of a
kid.
career in that, right? Henry Thomas? It wasn't
Yeah,
Henry Thomas,
yeah.
huh? No. All right. Anyway,
I don't remember his name.
somebody's looking
Okay.
it up right now, probably like this is who it is.
You'll
Like,
let us know.
they'll
Someone
let
will
us
let us
know.
know. The child's name
Yeah.
in the toy.
But anyway, I kind of picture Trump as that boy when he was growing up. And like he had everything he wanted, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
if he couldn't get and if one thing didn't go his way, he lost his shit, and then everybody did whatever they could to make sure he was happy.
And he was rewarded for that.
He was rewarded for that. And here's what's happening right now is it's like there's the entire Republican Party are the babysitters for Master Bates. And and
Yeah, that's
they
true.
are just trying to let's just make sure he doesn't explode. Let's just make sure he's calm.
But
Let's
that's what it is. I
send him
saw somebody was on TV the other
golfing.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, him. Oh my God, I can't with him golfing.
Yeah.
I don't. I remember. Forget who it was. It'll come back to me. Someone who was part of the administration but left, who was on TV the other day saying, um, "No, it was someone who used to work in the Bush administration." But anyway, who was on TV saying, uh, "Well, he's still working to accept it. So we're just giving him space to why."
Why? Why?
Why does he deserve any of
Oh, because
this?
the most enabled person in America, probably in the world, has never had to be told that he was wrong. Like,
Right,
that's it.
right.
Not even like you can't have what you want. It was just like, no, you're just wrong, dude. And and
Mm-hmm.
he knows it. He knows he's lost. But yeah, the rally thing,
He knows he's lost. He's gonna have to leave too.
the rally thing is like, let's throw Jimmy another birthday party.
Yeah,
Let's
seriously. It's like, dude, what are you doing a rally for? Like, there's no point for it. And this is a rally for the recount. Like,
I
what?
know, a rally to recount the votes that everybody knows statistically will not make a difference. And
It's so he just needs to get ready to leave. There was already a moving truck outside, which everyone is speculating was Melania's. Um, he there are people saying he may not leave, and I have been saying that I don't think it's a good look for the United States to have a president who's removed by police,
oh, but it would be
and
so much
military for not
fun.
exiting. But I have begun to realize that people who would like to see that are correct. That
No,
would actually be a lovely thing to see.
well, I mean, besides the lovely thing to see, and besides you could say, "Wow, this is embarrassing," but actually, there's an argument in my head going on already for that. That like, this might be the best thing people in the world could see is that the United States said, "Look, man, you're out. This is how seriously we take our democracy. That if you're gonna fight and not do it, you will be taken out, and he won't go
Yeah,
out in
you'll be
handcuffs.
escorted
He'll
out.
be escorted out, but it'll be like get to the helicopter. I mean, there's going to be a point when it's going to be like a bunch of security, Secret Service guys in the room who are already don't like him because he's been putting their lives at risk with a whole
Oh,
maskless
I'm
shit,
sure.
right?
I'm
They're just
sure
like,
they
you know
hate
what,
it.
dude, fuck you already. All right. And now it's time for you to go. And I just see like it's going to be like all
Yes.
these men in black surrounding him, like in a semicircle. And they're just like,
Mm.
it is now time, sir. And they're like, no, but I'm still the president. It is now time, sir. You will be
They're like,
leaving
no, get on
this.
the plane.
Do you want to leave on your feet or on your
Yes.
ass? And that's the
Yes.
choice. And it's gonna. I mean, like, I think it's gonna get to that point. I'd love to play this video that I sent to you. That
Oh, yes. I
it,
love it. I love it.
if anybody else has seen this video, please throw it a link up. I don't care whoever created this, but it's Trump as a baby, and he's just like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to. And they're like, Mr. President, it's time to let somebody else have the ball. It's a great
And that's
little.
what it is. He's
It
a
is.
gigantic
Yeah.
toddler.
Right now, somebody's telling him, you're going to get to start a media company, Mr. President, and you're going to get, because
Get to do what?
like somebody's already telling him, like, Mr. President, you can golf more, and you can start your own media. You can
Mm.
start your own media company, and like, I mean, there's somebody telling him right now the new toys he's going to be
Do
able
you
to
know
have.
what they are telling him? You know what I
What's
think
up?
they are telling him?
That he can run in
Is
2020.
that he can run again.
He can. I mean,
Yeah.
he's
I truly believe that's the number one thing in his head right now
which
is how he can run again.
I don't.
And because 72 million people voted for him,
Yeah.
he's going to believe that he's got the power.
Well, he does. No, but he
Yeah.
does. I mean, he
Yep.
does have the power. You know, here's the thing. Well, we've had a little break. I was going to say let's go move to the next topic, but we did have to have a little technical
We did
difficulty
have
thing.
a break.
So, but like what I want to say is, look, he's absolutely going to run for 2024, I think. Or even if he's not going to run, he's going to tease it out there and say he's running so he can keep getting the election money and donations that he has so he can skim off the top and do whatever he wants, because that's kind of how they're going to operate. I mean,
But the sad thing about our country is if 2024 he's still free, that's a problem.
well, and I think that's the interesting thing, and that's a conversation I wanted us to have a little bit later on today, but we can have it now too, because I do want to talk about the idea of prospecting the Biden presidency and where I think they're going to stand with cannabis and all those things too. But I do think so. We'll get to that, but I do want to also say I think we're we're looking at him basically just being a foil the whole time, and I don't think it's going to work like they think it's going to work this time around. And I could be wrong because, right, you're right. He's 72. Is he at 72 million right now? I know Biden is now 5
I
million.
think it's like 72 million. Biden's at like 76 or something.
Well,
There's like a 4 or 5 million
it's
vote difference.
that's what I heard. It's a 5 million, more than a 5 million vote difference, which is really sizable, by the way. All right. Let's just, come on. That's
Yes.
sizable.
So was 3 million in 2016.
I knew that was coming, and I agree.
Yes.
Like popular vote, we're already there, but as far as we both agree on that, and does most of America. But yeah, I think he's going to be a foil, but he's in debt. He's in debt. The only business this guy can do now is run for president. That's his business. Like
That's so sad.
I know, but that's it, right? I mean, he's. I like I said, he's gonna have his own media company. So here's the thing that we are facing next Trump president, which will run, right, is Trump's gonna create the Trump Media Network or whatever, and he's gonna directly compete with Fox. And see, that's what I'm saying. This is not gonna work out like they think it's gonna work. This is my crystal ball.
Okay.
They're gonna so this is what then they're going to create their own media company. It's going to be like OANN, it's going to be like, or he's going to buy into OANN, which is like crazy.
One?
Well, they're more of a Breitbart-ish kind of.
I know who they are. Yes,
yeah. But they're very propaganda, like even more so propaganda.
Yes.
And so he's going to buy his own propaganda network, and he's going to try to drive everybody there. Eventually, Fox is going to have a big old fuck you because they're already kind of that relationship is not going that well, right?
It was interesting because I told you I do watch Fox News.
I know.
With a degree of regularity just to see what they're talking about. I can't stand them. Tucker Carlson's a joke. Laura Ingraham is pathetic. She thinks she's some like deep journalist, and she's not at all. But it was interesting watching them. I think it was this Friday. What's today? It was on Sunday, I think. And it's how they were talking to their audience, which was sort of prepping them to be okay with this. Right. And, though it is a loss, think about all the great things you accomplish, and we're going to continue to move forward and, make America great. It's like, shut up.
Well, it is what it is, right? I mean, they know. I mean, like even Tucker Carlson, by the way, said it. He's like, look, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, but they should count every vote that's legal and not count every illegal vote. But they're all saying it's like,
see, those are the talking point things they do that drive me crazy. That's just a given. You don't count a vote that was cast. And it's interesting they're using illegally when it was really, I don't think that was like you wouldn't count a vote that was I want to think of what the word. There was another word that I feel
Invalid.
like would have been
I mean, I would
invalid.
like right,
Yes,
like
yes,
invalid, like it's like the signatures didn't match, which happens,
yes,
and but like they have opportunities in a lot of these states where
yes.
they'll say, hey, by the way, your vote didn't go through because of this thing. Can you want to come and like prove and like change it? So I like that
Right.
they have those opportunities. And it's just people just need to deal with the fact that votes need to be counted in a proper democracy. I don't understand like you can't have count the votes and then stop the count. Like you can't do
Right. You cannot have both of them.
and I was saying that before we got on. I was like, well, that was one of the points I want to make is that like to me, like the domination of the Senate for progressives aside, which is a bummer, and by the way, really will suck if Republicans are in charge because it's just going to be nothing gets done, right? So, and well,
Nothing.
nothing, and we'll talk about that too because that's dangerous, really. That's no more dangerous than a Trump presidency, really.
Mm.
Um, but you have this moment where like it didn't the argument of fraud was thrown out the window when the argument had to be the opposite for one state as the other. And I think that's where it trapped their logic into a place they couldn't get out of.
No.
And I think that's the way that happened is also in a way perfect for to get rid of Trump. Has nothing to do with the Senate, right? Um,
Hmm.
because in part in a way because the Republicans gained some seats in the House, which wasn't unexpected, really, by the way. So everyone's freaking out about that. But there were some seats that were like, yeah, these people are threatened by Republicans in their
Right.
districts.
Right.
And so when they gained a couple of seats, like I love it when the Republicans will get like a field goal and they'll be like, we just had 3 touchdowns. It's like you got a field goal, dude. Chill out. Chill out. All right. Yeah, you're on the
Yes, they're
scoreboard.
very good at spin.
They are. But then the Democrats they win and it looks like a loss. It's like it's hilarious. Um,
Yes.
but the Republicans are happy because it wasn't a routing they thought they were going to get, and so to contest
Yeah.
an election that they're actually kind of satisfied with as far as where they thought they were going to
Right.
be, they're like, yeah, we'll take this, man. We'll take a
And
black
the tricky
eye.
part is that they know there's only, even if there is fraud, it's not anywhere near the scale to match the
Oh,
number of votes they would need.
there isn't. Well, and election
Period.
fraud is kind of stupid, isn't it, Rob? I mean, what are you going to get with that one extra vote? Really? I mean, I get it. Like,
Right.
it's like you're going to get caught. It's silly. It's a dumb crime. And like I
It's
think that's
not this widespread thing. They're now working to make mail in slash absentee sound like an evil thing. Um, they really are just throwing anything against the wall
yeah, I know.
right now.
I know, but I think it's going to be. I think that the thing is the pandemic now having other places that were Republican, like Atlanta, different places doing mail-in ballots, on a larger scale is gonna people are gonna want the more of that. I think so. I don't think that's going away. I really don't. Um,
Hmm.
the convenience of it for a lot of people is really nice.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Now I do want to shift gears though because
Hmm.
like all right, so we have the baby in chief and yada yada and he won't accept it.
Yes, we
I
do.
think we're
That's
but
what he
I
is.
do want to say this one last thing. The media is finally doing what they're supposed to do in regards to Trump. And
Which is
they don't give him any they're barely paying him any mind as much as they well part of it's because he's been so quiet, so there is that, but like
true. He hasn't been saying anything.
but
So
like, look, hey man, I'm starting to give kudos to Fox News because Neil Cavuto, like, cut off Kayleigh McEnany as she was saying that the left, that the progressive, she's like they're welcoming
oh
fraud,
yes,
and he immediately was like, I gotta stop y'all right there because they're not doing that, and if so,
yes.
and he used that, he's like, if some facts come up that show that they have some evidence, then we're gonna bring it up, but we're not gonna do that, and I
Which is good, which is what they should have been doing all along.
that's
But
what I'm saying, though. And like, the other networks have been doing it for a while. Is when he starts lying, they just shut him off. And it's unprecedented, but like it's a wonderful statement of the media, and they should have made that statement for a long time. Is like, look, if you're going to consistently lie, not just throw a couple of lies in, because that happens.
no,
I get it. Like every politician
consistent.
they're gonna like cut, but like when there's paragraphs of just straight up lies and bullshit, and you got to be shut off. You got goodbye.
But
Um,
like you said, he's gotten away with it his whole life. No one's ever called him on
no
it.
one's ever called him on his bullshit ever. Like he believes his own bullshit now. It's one of those he believes the lies. I bet. I believe he believes the lies. It's a great
Oh
sign.
yeah,
It's like
I believe that he thinks he's like some skinny supermodel. Like his
it's
image of himself is insane.
it's Jason Alexander. It's uh Costanza, George Costanza. You ever seen that
George
Seinfeld?
Costanza.
Because yeah, they're like we
Mm.
I need to learn how to lie, and it's like, well, we're bringing the master, and it's George Costanza, and the first thing is he's like, you got to believe the lie, and they're like,
Mm.
believe the lie, and he's like, believe the lie. And it's like I believe he literally starts believing his lies, and then it's not a lie
Oh
anymore.
yeah,
That's just it.
yeah.
Crazy.
I don't know what he sees when he looks in the mirror, Trump, but it is not what we see.
Oh no, it's not. It's definitely not. He's seeing like who I don't know. It doesn't matter. Let's get
I was
to
gonna say he's seeing like but you'd have to make it age appropriate. He's in his 70s, so it had to be someone who was famous like 50 years ago.
oh,
He's
okay.
seeing
So
that.
he's like Robert
He's seeing like
Redford. You think
Robert
he's
Redford.
Yeah, he's Robert Redford.
Yes.
Okay, I gotcha. I gotcha. He's Robert Redford. He is. He
Oh
is.
my goodness.
Hey, I got a big shout out. Mr. Alistair Beck passed away this past weekend,
Yes.
and I'm sorry, I have to say, I think he was one of the classiest human beings on television, for the way he conducted
He
himself.
did.
And
He had a class to him, a style.
dude, and his show was about how smart are you, and
Yes.
they never really dumbed down the show, which I really appreciated over the years. I loved Jeopardy, man. It was a great show.
No, you definitely had to be smart to be on there. He would annoy me sometimes because I feel like when someone got an answer wrong and he was correct them,
I was
he'd
like,
correct them with,
I know.
I can't
You're
get
like,
that. I'm like, dude, you know the
dude,
answers.
you
Point
know the
out to
answer.
them.
It's right in front of you. I get it. I know. I used to be like that too. It's like, okay, dude. All right, professor. But he was class act. Anyway, so rest in
Yeah,
peace, Mr.
class
Alistair
act.
Beck.
Yes.
All
The
right.
Daily Double.
Let's talk about a little where we think the whole Biden Harris presidency is going to be on some cannabis
Yes,
issues.
yes.
So
Wait, but first, before we talk about, because I just want to
we
talk
keep
about this
putting this
first. I
issue.
want to talk about
Yes.
Kamala,
Oh, okay.
Kamala.
You're right, man. You're right. And maybe what we'll have to
But
do is So
history making,
absolute history making.
right?
All right.
Number
Now,
one, everyone who knows me knows there's no secret. I wanted her to be president. She
yes.
should have been the top of the ticket. She
Yes.
should be the person who's the president elect right now.
I think she's got a lot of credentials to be president. I wouldn't say she was my. Here's the thing. I love watching Kamala in action in hearings,
Mm-hmm.
and when I started seeing her in hearings, I was like, I want this girl. She needs to run for president, man.
Right.
Or I was actually the job that I wanted for her, and I still think she'd be the best
As
person.
Attorney General.
Oh, dude, I wanted her as Attorney General. Now she skipped that step, and that's fine. She skipped it. The thing, so
Yeah,
good.
she did.
She did. She just jumped right over there, and honestly, I I was when he was looking at people. I think we talked about this. I actually wanted to see Susan Rice as the vice president, only because I wanted Kamala to be the attorney general. Like I really
Attorney
just
General.
I was like, man, we're just you skipped the level I really wanted to see you at, because I felt
No,
like
I
she
hear
was.
you. Susan Rice is fantastic.
She is.
Unbelievably intelligent. I just don't think she would have ever really been good at the kissing babies part of being a politician.
Which is why she would have been the perfect candidate for vice president during COVID, because there ain't no kissing babies going on.
No,
No
not at
kissing
all.
babies. All
Don't
right,
bring
but
him anywhere out.
all right,
Mhm.
but that said, Kamala absolutely, she wanted it. She deserved to be the first female black. I mean, person of
What
color.
first
Person of
woman,
color. Person of color as vice
black
president.
woman,
Yes, black woman.
South Asian woman,
South Asian.
went to an HBCU, first interracial couple in the White House, I believe,
Yes.
and first by virtue of her husband, first Jewish person in the White House.
Correct. I think they're ticking so many damn boxes on. It's kind of hilarious, right?
What everything?
It
Tick
is
every
everything. They're
box.
just like bam, 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 bam. Like she's in a firing range, just like hitting each one of the demographics.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
probably more like gunslinging it. Because look, I think first of all, she's cool as hell. I think everybody's gonna give her shit about what she dresses like, and I would say if she was listening to me, I say Kamala, you just be you and like rock that White House, all right?
Oh,
Because
she's going to.
because why not? I don't care if she's walking around in kicks the whole time. Just do the job. She won't
Why?
be, by
Why?
the
Why?
way. She won't be.
Even if she was,
Who
again,
cares?
it's the
Who
the
cares?
degree of sexism where nobody. There's no history of stories about what men were wearing
Well, that's because they
ever.
wear suits, though. I mean, let's be honest. Suits are boring.
Right.
Let's be
Except
like
for Obama's tan suit, which
they,
was apparently the end of the world.
Obama wore a tan suit, and it was the end of the world. It was because you know what? The blacks showed up more in the tan suit, and they were like they couldn't deny. They were like,
You
ah,
are
shit.
correct.
We cannot
Couldn't deny
deny
it.
that this man is black. They kept trying to be like, well, he's only half black, and then he wears a
And,
tan suit.
and
Like,
Mitch
oh,
McConnell knows he
damn.
can't pull off a tan suit
Oh
too. He's
no, he
just
can't.
pissed.
He
That's what
can't.
it is.
He can't. Is anybody talking
That
about the fact that Mitch McConnell had bruises all over his body like a couple of weeks ago?
had bruises all over
Have
his
you not
body.
seen? There's pictures. Everybody's a look at this. A few weeks ago, there were pictures of Mitch McConnell with a black eye and a fucked up hand, and like there's
What?
no information about this at all. Like except for that there were pictures.
Wow.
Yeah, see, look at you. You just found out about it.
Well,
The
I
media
hope
is not
he's
doing
not,
a job.
hope it's not domestic abuse. We don't want to, don't want to diminish that.
I know, right?
But if he's
Hemp for the win, yo.
maybe he's into like S&M and he's like
He's in, dude,
forgot his
with
safe word.
his wife, who just is always like, a lot of people don't realize that his wife
That couple
has.
makes no sense to me. People
It
can be
makes
with
perfect
whoever they
sense. It
want.
makes
God bless
perfect
them.
sense to me.
It
That is a
does.
couple of power and convenience. There is no sex going on in that couple's history. They are strictly in it for the power. Absolutely, dude. There is nothing going
But
on
from
there.
what? Like I know that I believe she
She has a
comes from the
position in the
money.
Trump administration. I forget what her
She
position. Oh
does. She's
yeah,
like
it
in charge
does.
of transportation or
Yes, it's
something.
like it's not a small job.
But I believe that her money is from her family, and that
Maybe
she only came into it more recently. Like they just make no sense to me as a couple. But whatever.
it is what it is.
Anyway,
But
so go ahead. You want to talk about the Biden Harris ticket and what it means for hemp cannabis?
well, I as always, you don't hear a hell of a lot of talk about hemp. And it's kind of annoying, by the way, when you don't hear a lot of talk. And you know what's messed up about that statement is one of the people who talks more about hemp than anybody else is Mitch McConnell. Because he understood that was something that in Kentucky hemp grew really well, and he understood that hemp needed to be legalized. So he was actually one of the people who helped make hemp legal. So kudos for that.
Okay.
All right. And that's
Hmm.
because he understood. He had his farmers who were like, dude, can we grow some hemp? Because like Kentucky is one of the best states in the climate you can grow hemp in the country.
Okay.
And so, they understood that
Did not
there were still people who had like that their parents or grandparents or whatever had farmed hemp and remembered a day when it was something where you were, you were required to grow it in the Hemp for Victory time period during World War II. Even after they'd banned it, and then then they were like, grow hemp because holy shit, we're going to war. We need a lot of rope for the Navy, and that was literally true. So they created the Hemp for Victory campaign, and you
I
basically.
did not know this.
I know you're gonna learn more and more about. We'll start doing little hemp lessons,
Wow.
Rob. We'll start doing little
Yeah,
hemp
hemp
lessons on this,
lessons.
okay? We'll take you through a little bit of the history of it. That's gonna be fun. So you get to be the person asking the questions, and I'll go through some of that stuff, and we'll
Okay.
have other people come
Okay.
on. We're gonna start doing that kind of stuff. We've as the election stuff kind of comes down, we want to talk about everybody's kind of frozen into that mode, so we're like, let's just not ignore it and talk about this shit. But yeah, we'll start doing some of those little tidbits of hemp history through the conversations too. I think we should start doing that. But yeah, there was the Hemp for Victory tour campaign because we needed rope for our sailors and uniforms, and yeah, hemp. So
Wow.
it's again the thing that's amazing about hemp is that it's not that it wasn't common knowledge that it was a really useful plant and a product. And so the whole prohibition side, the argument for a lot of hemsters out there, and I'm actually one of them, and it is a bit of that conspiracy theory, but it follows the emperor wears no clothes. Um, uh, and it's the book by Jack Herer, and it's the fact that it was the industry itself that was afraid of hemp, and then they decided to demonize the marijuana to help make it illegal, so that
Right.
Dow Chemicals and all, and Rockefeller, and William Randolph Hearst had the timber industry, interests for the newspaper industry, and it was really that he's the one who really helped push the misinformation, and by the
William Randolph Hearst.
oh yeah, and so by the
Mm.
so by the time, because they started talking about marijuana, and nobody knew what the hell marijuana was. They just knew what hemp and cannabis was. Marijuana was the slang term for it in Mexico. And so it's funny because I'll have a lot of, or in Latin America as well. I've talked to a lot of Latin Americans and Mexicans, and they said, because a lot of people in the cannabis industry have started to say marijuana is a bad term. And
Mm.
and they'll say it's
So
a
they
racist
would you
term.
be saying cannabis?
Well, they're saying it's like the M word for cannabis, right? And I was actually one of those people for a long
Say the
time.
M, like
Yeah,
as a
because
marijuana, the M
marijuana was
word.
used as a racial weapon. The name marijuana was a racial weapon.
Yes,
Okay.
it was racialized,
It was
100%.
absolutely racialized. It was, black men are smoking marijuana and raping white women, and
Right.
these
And
dirty
white kids were
Mexicans.
smoking pot.
Yes, and white. Yeah, there was everything. It was all marijuana, right? Like, so when they
Right.
were pushing towards making it illegal, that's all they called it. Nobody ever called it cannabis. They didn't call it that. So nobody
Right.
there for a long time. People weren't correlating that marijuana
Right.
equals hemp or marijuana equals cannabis. And so by the time it became illegal, there were farmers who were like, I'm sorry, wait, you're talking about hemp? Wait, we did what? What? Wait, how did we just? What just fucking happened? It was like
Right.
it was such a like crazy like whiplash for like the agriculture communities and everything. Um, and so it's just one of those crazy things. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so now that, and the reason why I'm bringing all this up is we're talking of the context of a Biden Harris presidency, right? Office
Yes.
administration. And Joe Biden grew up right in the sweet spot of all of the misinformation. Okay, like he grew up with it as a child, like hemp for victory was going on while he was a kid, right? Because what is he,
Mm-hmm.
79 now? So he was born in
Yeah,
41.
I don't know. He's like 125,
Well,
something
no,
like
no.
that.
So
Yeah.
he's born 41, right? So World War II happens while he's like a toddler and a little kid, and he's getting to be 10 years old. But then he grows up, and hemp is back to being illegal, and you have this misinformation about marijuana and all this stuff about how it's this terrible thing. And then you have the Nixon administration that comes in, it really goes full force against it, to fight back against the first beatniks and then the hippies. And then they can create the Controlled Substances Act, and he's coming to age through all of that. And so the
Mm-hmm.
hardest
Mm-hmm.
thing for somebody like that is, I think of that as like you've just been hardwired into prohibition mindset. And that's why we're finally getting to a point with someone like Biden, who was never like, that much of a rebel, right? Where I think it was a political thing where they're saying, yeah, we're going to talk about like decriminalization and taking it off the Controlled Substance Act. I'm not saying they're not going to do that, but where marijuana people hear it and they go, wow, that's going to be a huge priority. And when they say, for the racial injustice side of things, they say this is a huge priority. We need to get on this. It's not been mentioned in their profile in the last 24 hours, or in their plans in the last 24 hours. It hasn't been brought up at all.
To decriminalize.
The decriminalize. Not saying it won't be in a larger report, but up to this point, they haven't brought anything up about it. And so, I want to see something like, because you also have Harris. Okay, so I look at where she's coming from. She's coming as an attorney general of California. All right, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she
Mm-hmm.
was the first African American or first black. I don't know if there's a history there in California, but
Well, I believe she was.
I do understand at the current time that she was attorney general that a black attorney general lady cannot come in and be soft on crime as much as she probably should be working on reformation and all those things and looking at like different laws. And so there are a lot of people say she was tough on marijuana and she was tough on crime and all that. And it's like, yeah, well, she had to be. And otherwise they would have
Well,
just,
she was a prosecutor.
she
First of all,
was.
she had to
Mm-hmm.
follow the.
Mm-hmm.
She was not a lawyer. She
Yeah.
was a lead. Well, she was, but she was the
Mm-hmm.
state's chief prosecutor. Now, if people wanted to have the laws changed, that wasn't going to rest inside of her hands necessarily.
Correct.
But
Correct.
to me, at the end of the day, no matter how tough she may have been, are there people who shouldn't have been incarcerated that possibly were 100%?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Was she, on a scale of 1 to 10, the worst person ever in regards to
No,
treating black
no,
men and men of color?
no,
Like, no,
no,
I'm not going to put
no.
the number of people who have done so many more egregious acts. I'm not going to put her at the top of the
And
list.
you know, she
But
did
I
her
will say
job.
this, I have to say this
Yeah.
though. Yes, the Biden, the reason it's not there, I believe, what you're saying,
Mhm.
is because he has to figure out how to separate himself from and then rewrite the story of signing the crime bill.
Well, this is part of it,
Because
right?
there are tons of people
Hmm.
who have lost
Hmm.
decades of their lives
Yeah.
in jail because of the most ridiculous,
Hmm.
unnecessarily harsh bill.
Well, so but here's the thing. Like this is an easy fix, and that's the thing that's going to be frustrating. Okay, there's a crime bill. That's a lot of work, and that's something that's necessary. And there's some things you can do by executive order, as I know he's going to be doing them. This is actually pretty much one of them. I mean, he could immediately just take marijuana off the Controlled Substances Act. He could actually abolish the Controlled Substances Act and create something that makes sense, and that would end it all. Like that's literally all he has to do. And that's something
But
he
we
can
can't
do without
pretend that.
Congress.
But we can't pretend. At least I can't pretend that.
I'm pretty sure he can.
And we can have a separate conversation about the police as an entity.
Hmm.
Um, but the sheer number of police departments across the country who have, as a part of their practice, regularly been picking up
Hmm.
people
Hmm.
for marijuana use
Hmm.
as a part of what they do,
Yep.
they're not going to just say, okay, sure, we're just going to stop doing that. It's too built into the, you have to break down the police culture
Oh no, no, no. They will though.
first.
No, Rob. They will. Look, when it's legalized, and this is coming from experience. Like I get what you're saying, but as soon as it was legalized, like in Colorado, everybody was like, "Okay, we're done." And they actually got to the point where, like, I don't even know how to deal with somebody who's on weed right now. Like, I don't even know what legally I'm allowed to do as a cop. There was actually confusion for them for a long time. Actually, they're like, "What can I do here?" I don't
Hmm.
know, because like police departments were immediately being sued if you did some shit like that. They would like go right after you. There was a team of lawyers who were like, no, this is legal now." And so it will change. That will, like I said, you will be surprised now you could have states who will say marijuana's still legal here. I mean, like you can have a city that makes dance illegal. So yeah, you can do
Mm-hmm.
that in a municipality level. You can even do that on a state level. But federally, as soon as that happens, and as soon as you take it off the Controlled Substances Act, it makes a very big difference as far as the perception that a lot of people have. I mean, a lot of people don't understand the Controlled Substances Act, but it for law enforcement, it's a game changer. All right, and it really is. Um, I mean,
I mean, I think it'd be great if it happened.
he could do that with a
I
stroke of a pen, basically.
But what he can't do with the stroke of a pen is obliterate decades
Hmm.
of institutionalized thought around marijuana.
Well,
Like
no,
that
he
has
can't.
to happen before the stroke of that pen, I feel like.
Oh no, that's but it's happened, Rob. I mean, you have already have like I think it's something like a 68% of the population or somewhere around there. I'll have to look at the numbers again. As far as believe medical is okay and others and on the decriminalization side. So we're already there. Like this is where the country is way further ahead of the politicians. And so
Mm.
it's been like, and we're seeing it, the dominoes have been falling. There's been some stupid statements about it over the years. I mean, but when you start seeing people
Yeah.
like John Boehner um invest in marijuana on the I
Right.
mean, you're
Which
looking
is
at.
crazy because it means that that was a person who was okay with years and years and years of
Yes,
laws
absolutely,
putting predominantly black people in prison, but now you're
absolutely,
going to make money off of
absolutely, absolutely, yes. There's no
it.
denying that. And it
Crazy,
and, it,
crazy.
and it's one of those things, right? I mean, like it's a problem, and it's something I I'm looking forward to having a friend of mine, Wanda James, onto the show sometime. She's one of the first, actually, I think the first African American couple that had their own dispensary here in Colorado.
Oh,
And
nice.
yes, and her and her husband Scott Durrell, and she's a fantastic lady. She's politically involved. She's very vocal, and but that's one of the conversations that I know she has a lot of times. I'm like, here, we're gonna have that conversation. I want to, but it is about like the fact that it's a very white industry already in the cannabis industry. Now,
Mm-hmm.
look, here's the thing. I live in Colorado, so yeah, there's a lot of white people in
It's
Colorado.
pretty
Okay,
white.
it's a pretty
Yes.
white state. I mean, we absolutely have plenty. There's diverse
Of
population of
white
other
people.
ethnic backgrounds, but we're a very white state. I mean, there's a lot of whiter states out there than us, but we're up there. All right.
True.
And so yeah, so you can say there's
Idaho.
a percentage of business people that will more likely be white, but it's still not the same. It's still, and again, it comes down to a lot,
Mm-hmm.
right? It comes
Mm-hmm.
down to, even if there was no blocking of African American people in the cannabis industry specifically, there absolutely is when it comes to getting loans or getting some kind of investment money or getting all those things. And so
Yes.
it's all
Capital.
connected. It's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we're seeing in other states now, there are some states that are legalizing it, and at the same time that are legalizing it, they're now adding provisions in there saying, okay, we're going to work towards this many people of this diversity, of this ethnic background, women owned, coming in and becoming entrepreneurs in this industry, and we're going to open up positionings for that as well. I will say this about the cannabis industry. All my sisters out there in the cannabis, all my OG sisters out there, there's a lot of women owners in the cannabis industry,
Hmm.
and it's
Okay. Okay.
really kind of awesome to see. Whether it's in the hemp side or on the marijuana side, whether it's about ancillary businesses and everything, the entrepreneurship that you'll find in the cannabis industry is pretty fantastic, and it's been very diverse on that side. Now, opening a dispensary is a really expensive proposition. Um, and there are definitely not
I'm
enough
sure.
like I said, in Colorado and a lot of other states. There's definitely not enough people of color who own those larger businesses like that. But in the ancillary business avenue, where there's all the like that kind of that startup energy, like anybody can start a business.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of innovation going on there, and you are seeing a lot of diversity in the businesses, and the women have done a great job of creating women's groups where they get together and help each other and help prop each other up. And
Oh, nice.
there is there's a nice change where you also see them helping each other, and that's what I mean. Like, and they'll police each other, because other times you'll see somebody body shaming somebody on Facebook, and it's, of course, it's a weird thing to have an industry grow up on social media too. um but uh
Mm.
but you'll see them be like, no, don't, that's not what this is about. And so you'll see a little bit of that community coming together. So
Oh, that's excellent.
it is cool. It's cool to see that, and I can't say that's how it is now that it's getting bigger. Like, but I can tell you when it was, like, when people, like, because the pioneers of the cannabis industry jumped in, like, and nobody knew it was going to be around. They were like, well, you're starting a business, but you could be in jail in a week, you could be in jail in a month, I
Right.
mean, a year. You don't know what's going
Right.
to happen. And for some people, it did happen like that. And so it was such a high risk proposition that there was no, the entry was how big were your balls, and did you have any money, or did you have, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't, obviously I mean
Mm.
figurative, right? Because the point was, there were plenty of female entrepreneurs who jumped in, and they were
Right.
successful and have been leaders in the industry. And so that's one of the things that's been cool about new industry coming up at this time. So
Mm-hmm.
what I hope, and this is a tie-in. I keep on going to tie it back to the conversation, which is the Biden-Harris presidency. I mean,
Okay.
administration.
Okay.
What I want to see is, I want Kamala to understand and start recognizing what this can do for female entrepreneurship out there,
Hmm.
but also people of color. As long as we create these avenues, there's new industries in all these states that are going to start popping up, where they can jump in and be business people. But they, there's training out there for people who want to jump into the cannabis industry now, and there's classes they can take and all that kind of great stuff. And like, those resources are there for people. In the hard thing, though, is that as it's gotten bigger, you have larger companies who have grown in either Colorado or California or Washington, and they become large companies. And now they can come into
Mm-hmm.
all the new states and gobble them up. And
Of
so
course, that's
so
exactly what's going to happen.
and it does happen, honestly. And for me, when I'm in Colorado, I'm like, yeah, let my Colorado peeps get over there and go make some money in another state and grow their business. Good for them, and that's how you feel. But then you go, wait, when you're in the other
Hmm.
state, you're like, hey, dude,
Hmm.
what happened to all of us who wanted to start our own business? You guys just came in and muscled us all out. Um, and so there has to be a conversation about how are we going to grow this industry to help everybody, and like how do we create this decentralized industry? Because let me tell you something, generally the larger companies, their product sucks. I mean, I'm talking about flour wise. I mean, in the you can create
Okay.
real good
Okay.
consistency, honestly, in edibles if you're a bigger company, because you can bring the price down, all that. So it does make some sense sometimes.
Mm.
But is there a way to help those kind of companies have the capital? And for the people who are growing, when you grow on a mass scale, a lot of times it just turns into crappy weed. And then they're just selling it to you for cheap, but you're not getting good weed. And honestly, it's not as good of a medicine that way. It's all these things that come into play. And then there's the hemp side of it as well. And I think that's where we got to go to Grandpa Joe. I think you got to go to Grandpa Joe on the hemp side and like get him to
Okay.
go, look, man, we're helping the farmers, we're helping the salt of the earth people, and this is something like this is actually green and it's going to help our planet, but like this is a great way to help.
So he's going to sell it to the older folks, and she's going
I
to sell it
that's
to
what
the
I
younger
no
ones.
no this I want this is how I want it sold to them, because I don't think they're as sold on it as they should be. I think that there's a little
Mhm.
I think there's an understanding, like this is part of the package, right? We got to do something about this. But honestly, I'm still pissed at Biden. I mean, I'm still pissed at Obama for not doing this, because like I said, he could have done this. What they did in the
Mhm.
Obama administration was kind of it was like the don't ask, don't tell of cannabis. It was
Mm.
so it was like they did the Cole memo and they said, here's the deal. If you're a state legal business, we're not going to mess with you as long as you follow the laws in that state, which is cool. It's more of and I don't mean to say it's the don't ask, don't tell, because it's a little more than that. But it was
I'm sure.
the like, hey, it's a states' rights deal. We're not going to fuck with states as long as you guys are following your own laws and you're not doing anything out of interstate, and then we will step in, right? But he could have taken off the Controlled Substance Act. He could have done more. And as the
Hmm.
first African American man, I really thought, like, I thought, dude, you need to help your brothers. Why are you not doing this? And in when
It's a longer conversation for another
it's
time,
a
I
longer
think. But a
conversation.
piece of it I will say is going back to what I said though about though the country may be moving forward, there's still a certain level of cultural um, uh, deprogramming. Is that the word I want? That has to occur
Oh, it's
because there are
happening.
people who, on the one hand, they are being told, here, young black person, here, woman, come
Mm.
open dispensary. We'll
Right,
help you. At the
right.
same time, that person still has a relative in jail on marijuana charges.
Well, and
So
yes, I mean the
it's
number.
confusing for people.
It is confusing to people, and that actually, and I didn't mention that, but of course, the number one thing that has to happen is the expungement of all nonviolent drug offense records. I mean, that it's just
Mm-hmm.
that has to go away, and then there has to be a review of felonies, whether they be dropped down for a level. I mean, look, here's the thing: if you commit a crime when it's a crime, I get that it's a crime. Okay, but like a felony is fucked up thing to have following you when it's based on because you had a shit ton of weed in your trunk. You know what I mean? Like if you
Yes.
had no guns, you had
Yes.
everything else,
Exactly.
so that's that stuff needs to be at least brought down to a misdemeanor on all these people, and like and expunged. Look, there's not gonna you ain't gonna get reparations for this. These people who were in jail aren't gonna get money because of this or any of that. It's just not gonna happen, but expungement needs to happen. And
Yes,
and
because we can't have dispensaries around the country and be and pushing the growth of this business
mhm.
and still keep those people locked up at the same time.
So you believe as soon as prohibition ended for alcohol, all the bootleggers needed to be let free.
Yeah.
Well, as long as it was nonviolent, right? If there was, but if there's guns or anything else involved, that's a different story, right? I
I
mean,
mean, that's different, but
right,
usually, I mean, and I am not uh, a state's attorney general and in possession of
mm,
mountains of information, but I've never gotten the impression that most of these people who are locked up on marijuana charges that there was violence involved in it, so
right,
much as they just happen to have marijuana
right,
on them.
exactly. Well, I mean, there are times when they have coke and marijuana and all this other shit. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, so
Well,
there's that,
yeah,
but because
because
if you're the good drug dealer is diversified. Um,
know your clientele. You
like
know,
we did we cover kind of everything a little bit?
I think we
We
did. I'm
did,
looking
and
at
we're
the
at like a
list. I'm
full
like, we hit
hour.
everything.
We did it. I mean, this is going to
Wow,
be shorter than an hour because of the technical thing. This video,
because of the glitch before,
but we do say we stop
but
at
it was a
7.
good conversation.
Hey, man, I think we will
So
see
we
what
do.
happens in the next week. We'll see how
Yeah, who knows what's going to be happening
we'll
next
see
week?
if
He'll
we can
try to
get
have
yeah.
Ivanka installed as like the Secretary of State or something.
Well, yeah, there's going to be a lot of changes, and we've already had a few. We didn't touch on any of those, and that's totally cool. But there's when you start changing top Pentagon officials, there's a
Right,
little concern right
right.
there. The
About what is
conspiracy.
your goal? Like, why is he doing that?
Yeah, why is he doing that? And
I mean,
it's
I did hear someone say that they think he's trying. If anything, they wouldn't be surprised if he was attempting to create divisions or distractions in places that would harm Biden once he takes over.
like in defense of our
That wouldn't
country.
surprise
Like in
me.
the defense of our country. That's a great place to
Mm-hmm.
pick.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see. We'll see.
This is they are the worst family. That's what they should be called, the worst
Yes, they
family.
are.
It's just yeah.
Yes, they are.
All right, man. Well, anyway, thanks so much for joining us, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you,
Sorry
everybody.
about our technical issues in the beginning, but there, like, shit happens.
It happens.
And next week we'll get into more. Let's if you guys have a question about cannabis in general, please message us on Facebook, and we'll happy to bring up that topic next week. And otherwise, we'll just keep rolling, and we'll find some more conversations on the. Maybe the history of hemp, and we'll break some things down for you, Rob, so you
Yes,
see
that'd be good.
you can
And the
learn.
Constitution stuff.
Like
Yeah,
I see, here's the thing: you're somebody who believes in it and understands like it, but you don't know that. Like a lot of people don't know this history, and like
I have. Yeah, I do not know the history of it at all.
we'll have to get into it, man. It's gonna be fun.
You are my guru.
I'm your girl. That's scary. That's scary. We'll get there.
Yes.
All right, man. Well, I'm gonna call it night. So thanks so much for everybody for
Sounds
joining
good.
us today. Wishing you all the best over the next week, and peace, love, and happiness.